In this video, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about bleed and gutter. That's what the video calls it, but we call it bleed and margin. So right now we're looking at a half letter size, which is basically a 5.5 by 8.5, and most of your novels are laid out in that format: 5.5 inches wide, 8.5 inches deep, so or high. So if you notice, we have three lines, if you will, here. You have first you have your bleed. Let me just zoom in so you can see this. All right, you have the bleed, which is the red line. Then this black line represents the trim, and this magenta line, if you will, represents what is better known as the margin. Some people call it a gutter, and then some people even call it a safety. In other words, you want to make sure that all of your live matter, all right, is encapsulated within the margin. All right, and in this case, the margin is a pretty wide margin. It's about 1/2 of an inch. And then of course you have your trim, and what goes beyond the trim is what they call the bleed. And again, if you watch that video, you'll see why. You'll understand why a bleed is necessary. Now, in InDesign, if you want to view exactly what this is going to look like in InDesign, all right, you just hit the letter W. All right, either on the PC or the Mac, because the W is W. All right, but you have to make sure that no text is selected, because if you hit the letter W, it's going to actually insert a W. But when you just hit the letter W again and again, you hit it once, you're going to see exactly what it's going to look like when it prints to the trim. All right, you hit the letter W to come out of that preview mode, and you're going to see the actual working file with the guidelines and, of course, the different parameters. All right. Now, when we export this this document out with crops and bleeds, and I would like you guys to commit this to memory, because you're going to be doing a lot of output where from this point forward you're going to probably, I'm going to request that you export your document out with crops and bleeds. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go up to File, you're going to drop down to Export, all right, and then you're going to get it's going to ask you where you want to put it. I would tell you to target your desktop. In this particular case, I'm going to just call this one Cover Test. So I'll just type in Cover Test. All right, that's going to be the name. I'm going to target my desktop, which is what I'm going to recommend that you guys do. And before we say OK, make sure it says Format. You have Adobe PDF Print. Adobe PDF Print. All right, then you'll say Save. Then you're going to get this dialog box. At this point, what you want to do is you want to be able to make sure you have View PDF after exporting. Make sure you select that, right? By selecting this, what it's a courtesy. Basically, after you export it out as a PDF file, it will preview it so you can actually see what it is you just exported out. All right, so make sure that's selected. And then drop down to it says Marks and Bleeds. Very, very important. Now, it's true, you have a whole lot of options here for your marks, and you have you have a few options here for your bleeds and slugs. All you have to do is just click on the crop marks, all right? All we want is the crop marks. We don't need to see any of these other things. We just need the crop marks, and then when it says bleeds, guess what? If you just select Use Document Bleed Settings, what it's going to do, it's going to gray out the ability to put in information, because it's going to use the document bleed that you've already set up in your document. So what you want to do is, once you have your bleeds on your page, you'd say crops, then you say use document bleeds, all right, and then we'll say export. And at this point, what it's going to do is going to launch the document. It's going to launch it in Adobe PDF, all right, and Adobe Acrobat, I should put it that way, Adobe Acrobat, or Preview, but you want to make sure you have downloaded Acrobat Pro, and then you're going to see, here it is. This is your print-ready document that has the crop marks right here, and it has the bleed, which is basically the image that extends beyond the trim. All right, so that's how we set up a document with bleeds and margins, all right, or safety or gutter, and that's how we export it out with bleeds and crops.